Hey there, it is Sia with Black Petal Gardening, and today we are going to do a bit of a garden assessment. It's a little bit of a tour, but not in the traditional way, more looking at things in an assessing manner. What have we learned so far? What would I do differently? What do I like that's happened? Things along those lines. Today is the 28th of June, so the garden has been in place for about 3 months. And I think it's a good time for this kind of assessment. So that's what we're gonna go do. I will say, as you can probably hear, I am bouncing back from being ill. I've been extremely sick for the last 4 days, but I am feeling way, way better. I am currently using a throat lozenge, so hopefully that won't impede, my speech much. Halls, Intense Cool, not a sponsor. But yeah, anyway, we're gonna go get started. Okay, so first up, the green stalks. I think the bean and the strawberry one extremely successful. We can see here right now lots of bean growth is coming in. We are still getting strawberries as well. So I think that has gone very nicely. Look at all of these purple beans that we've got. I do think for this, one thing that I would do differently is, and I think I mentioned it before, I think I would keep the strawberries all in a row. So the top 3 tiers, strawberries, and then the last 2 tiers being beans. And I probably need to fertilize in the green stock more. I don't think I did a very good job of fertilizing, and that can be seen a little bit with some of the yellowing of the leaves for the beans, though that could also be the fact that it's been very, very warm here, and because I was ill for the last 3 days, I had not watered at all. So I just watered yesterday. With that, success there, one of the things that we talked about already is the fact that we had terrible, terrible germination with our seed sowing in the other 2 green stalks, the terracotta one and this green one. It did not go well at all. And I would say probably 80%, maybe even 90% of the things that I started from seed did not germinate, and the ones that I reseeded again did not germinate in a lot of the cases. So what I'm going to take from that is I am going to mostly only start or use starts in the green stalks. Though when I did do starts, they took off fantastically, whether it was ones that I started myself or ones that I got from, a local nursery or market. That seems to have done very well. Now, the beans, we did do those direct sow from seed. But if you recall from our previous videos, I did have to reseed a couple of more than a few of them actually to get germination on all the seeds that we put in. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at for the green stalks. I still think they're a fantastic way of growing, and maybe there was something that I should have done differently to help make the seeds work better. Possibly I didn't keep them watered enough or something. I'm not entirely sure what the issue was there, but I feel it's probably just going to be easier. And for me, for the garden, I do want to make it as easy as possible for myself if I just do starts. And so that's, I think, what I'll be doing going forward. As we can see here, we've got quite a variety of things going on in here. Now, see, here's one. This did not germinate. It actually had started to, but I don't know what happened to the seed in there. It's very disappointing. But we've got peppers that are coming along quite nicely. So I think we are going to continue with the plan of doing peppers in both the Greenstalk and in raised beds, because we are seeing some good growth. I will never do spoon tomatoes again. I've made that decision. They are cute, absolutely, and I think they're an interesting novelty, but they take it over. They absolutely, completely take over, and they get in the way of things that I would much rather be growing and, shade them out and things like that. So I actually ended up pulling the spoon tomato that was down here. Well, I cut it at its base because it was just overshadowing everything. This one I'm letting go, but I'm keeping it, though it may not look like it, fairly trimmed back. I just did a big trim yesterday, in fact, because it was starting to impact the shishito over here with its foliage. Will not be planting those again. Everything else is looking good. I had not intended to keep our cilantro to the point where it would flower and seed, but it's pretty. Bugs are enjoying the flowers. So, I think the idea of keeping things past their prime makes sense if you have a plan for it. I don't know that we're going to harvest any of the seeds for coriander or anything like that. It's mostly for the pollinators to come in and do their thing. But that's looking fantastic. Same thing over here. Lots of growth. Things are looking really nice. We're getting some nice little nubbins. I mean, look at these. Oh, this is the Anaheim chili. Gorgeous. Absolutely lovely. This little patio tomato, I think this is the patio tomato. It's kind of hard to see. It's getting pretty big. Yeah, so this is getting big. It's getting some little flowers and things on there. Here's one that did come from seed. Did this come? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I put this. This was a direct sow from seed. Our nasturtium, beautiful, looking great. Just a lot of different variety in here. So, despite early setbacks with certain things, this still is, I think, a marvelous option. You can see some of these are like really dirty, and that is because I pulled out our lettuce. Our lettuce had gone going gangbusters to the point where we could not keep up with it. We're only 2 people. We can only eat so much lettuce at one time for sandwiches and for salads. And it was getting to the point where it was getting overgrown, starting to bolt. It was going to start getting bitter and things like that. So I finally made the decision to pull it. I think in the future, what I will do is probably do less lettuce and do more of a succession sowing. That's going to be the same case for, over in that bin, we had the Butter Crunch head lettuce. I did 4 heads all at the same time, thinking my succession plan for that would be I'll do another 4 heads 2 to 4 weeks later. I probably should have only done like 2 heads, waited 2 weeks, another 2 heads, 2 weeks, or maybe even 3 or 4 weeks instead, because we ended up again with a ton of lettuce all at one time, and lettuce stays good for, a certain amount of time, but not forever. Okay, so succession sowing, something I need to be more knowledgeable about, be more deliberate about, have a better plan for. All right. My onions. These are my really my easiest crop. I know that a lot of people have difficulty with them, but these are my set it and forget it crop. I put the sets in, the little bulbs, plant them in, and that's it. I'll water, usually I don't even fertilize. This year I did fertilize because it is in with other stuff. Um, but as a general rule, I don't tend to fertilize them, and then I just let them go. Now, maybe I've been very lucky. Maybe I am a master onion producer without even knowing it. That's definitely not it. I'm 100% sure luck is the thing. But I have had what I consider pretty good luck with onions with very minimal intervention from myself. So I'm not planning on doing anything different for my onions, and I still stand by planting them out early in March, which is, I'm pretty sure, the same thing that I did this year. The carrots, they look pretty good. I do really still like the seed tape idea because it gives, a lot of easy alignment and spacing. I have no reason not to use that in the future. These ones over here are doing okay. Not all of them germinated that I put in the line, so that was a little disappointing. Also, some area of disappointment. I did a second sowing, and really only one is coming up. There's I think this is one too, but I don't know. But my foolishness actually stems, I can't tell. Yeah, that's coming from over there. From the idea that I had enough room for a second sowing, not only for the carrots, but for these onions that I put in. I definitely should not have done the second row of onions in this area. I did not realize that the cabbage leaves were going to expand quite so large and take up quite so much space. Same thing with the Brussels sprouts. So unfortunately, I'm not going to say that they were set up for failure. I honestly don't know how much bulbing up these will eventually do, but I definitely did not do the onions any favors by where I planted them. So that to me was more of a lack of knowledge about the other plants in the area, resulting in a poor decision, poor choice. Yeah, I don't know about the cabbage either. It's not looking great. I definitely would say in the future I will not do 4 heads. I don't think I would put them as close together as I did. And I'm honestly, I don't know. They don't look great. I mean, it's feeling a little firm, like they're firming up. So maybe when it does come time to harvest, they'll be better than I'm thinking they will. Okay, yeah. I've been trying to find research to say, can I cut these big leaves off because they are taking up so much space? And I'm not finding any information on that. And it's driving me nuts because I really do want to cut some of this stuff back. This one looks like it's got, it's a very weak head right there. And this one is feeling a little bit more firm. So it's got kind of a double head, and we'll see. But yeah, for the cabbage situation, I think went a little too, not aggressive, but too ambitious. So probably do 2, and then maybe wait for a fall harvest. So coming in July and or August, do another sowing for fall cabbage instead. Now, I will say last year was the first time I ever tried to do cabbage, and I did try it in the Greenstalk, and we did end up with a little like baseball sized cabbage. So that may be something that I'll do to take the place of the lettuce that we pulled out of there, mend that soil, backfill it, and maybe find the earliana cabbage that I had tried last year, and see what happens there. Yeah. So next, okay, here's another one of those spoon tomatoes. So it's just, like I said, I'm never doing those again. And then we've got some more lettuce that we really need to harvest this, because look at how big it is. Yeah, we got to do something with that. The peas, these have been extremely prolific. I knew that this was supposed to be a taller plant. I didn't process exactly what that was going to mean when I was putting it into the raised bed. The plant itself kind of solved its own problem by falling over, bending over, and giving itself some support. In the future, what I'll probably do is utilize this trellis if we're going to do the sugar magnolia peas again in the future. What the heck? Oh my goodness. Okay, so we are growing lots of mushrooms, and I don't know why, and I don't know if that's to be concerned about or not. I'll have to look that up. The cucumbers are doing okay, I guess. I was kind of hoping, that they would kind of utilize the trellis a little bit better on their own than we're seeing as I try and squish this in here. I mean, but it's not terrible or anything. The sour gherkins over there, very slow to get going, but it's actually training itself up the trellis pretty well. We've got a lot of flowers on here, not a huge amount of baby fruit, so I'm kind of feeling like I need to trim some of this back, because we do have 2 plants of it, by the way. Sorry, I am all over the place. I'd like to blame it on having been ill, but I don't think that would be fair. Okay. Here we go. We'll see if this does anything. Flowers. So I think flowers is an area that I really became too ambitious about. I really wanted to have not just this very green garden that we're seeing, but I wanted huge pops of color throughout as well. And I think in order to do that, I should have started my flowers much earlier. Yeah, unfortunately, we are very close to a major thoroughfare where we live, and so people are ridiculous. Anyway, I should have started my flowers much, much earlier than I did. And I mean, I've utilized some in the Greenstalks, which have added some pops of color there, which is fun to see. But I don't think I made enough room in the beds for flowers, other than the flowers that, you know, come on the fruit and vegetable plants themselves very well. So that's something, you know, future garden I'm gonna have to keep in mind. I do have some calendula that is finally getting to the point where it's going to be flowering. I have some dwarf sunflowers there, dwarf sunflower here. That's just getting to the point where it's going to start flowering, and one over on the other side. I've said it multiple times already. I'm only going to do one sunflower in an area, not two. Gosh, what else? We are already at 20 minutes, and I am kind of exhausted and warm already. I will say that the nasturtiums have done wonderfully. They are, look at this color. These ones are just beautiful and big. This is exactly what I was hoping for when I put this in, is just this nice fusion of color and brightness. So the nasturtiums definitely did not let me down. Okay, now squash. I know nothing about squash. I don't like to eat squash, but I know Scott does. And you know, if you're gonna have a garden and you have a partner, I mean, if you're by yourself, you know, you put in what you want to put in, absolutely. And if you want to experiment, you know, of course, experiment. But to me, what's the point in having a garden if you only put in the things that you like? It's the same thing with cooking. If you have other people in the house, why would you only cook things that you like? You need to keep in mind other people. So, you know, I was very happy actually to do the squash, because I like to try out new things. The only thing is I know nothing about it. So, I mean, is this done? Kinda looks done to me, but I don't know. Got another one over there. That one seems to be even yellowier. So maybe, is that one done? And again, am I okay to be clipping these big, huge leaves off? I mean, these, look at how thick that is. That thing is just enormous. Excuse me. And then I've got my watermelon plants here that are taking over. So again, maybe I should not have planted quite so many melons in one area. Melon, squash, whatever. I had this grand idea that I was going to do vertical growing for these, and I clearly did not do that right. Because it's not exactly growing vertically, it's just growing squatly. And then my zucchini, which is supposed to be the glitter of, you know, the garden, is barely doing anything. I don't know. I think probably should have picked just a summer squash, one variety of watermelon, and maybe a zucchini. So we have 3 in the watermelon, melon, gourd, etc. Arena. All right, and then we're gonna move over here to the pepper bed, or the pepper side of the bed. We've got some of the sugar rush peppers coming in. Look at these. These are our Carmen Italian peppers. Can you see them? Look at that. Oh my gosh. This year has been the best for peppers for us so far. Look at those. Those are the mammoth jalapenos, so obviously they've got a way to go. They're supposed to be mammoth sized. Our shishitos are coming in, but we absolutely have never had such a good pepper start. The peppers have been pretty lackluster in the past, so I think the new bed with the nutrients that we put in and the little bit extra care that we took at the time of planting has definitely made a difference. So that is 100% a yay and a good for this year. The downside is, though things are doing well, I think they are a little stunted because of the tomato section. If I'm remembering correctly, eggplants like the most sun, then peppers, then tomatoes. So what I probably should have done is planted the peppers on that side and then the tomatoes behind them so that they got even more of the sun rather than being in the shade of the tomatoes. So something to think about for next year, which really actually, we'll get into that just in a second. Here's our San Marzano tomatoes. So we've got some great tomato growth there. Back here, I think these are our Anans Noir, maybe. Either that or it's the strawberry, black strawberry tomatoes. We've we've got a forest of tomato greenery over here. I think this might be our sun gold cherry tomato over. Oh, I just poked myself in the eyeball with the growth over here. Oh my goodness. We've got our Juliet tomatoes over here that are growing really nicely. We've got these ones are the Anans Noir down here. We've got our black beauty tomatoes, yeah, that are coming in. So the tomatoes are doing really well, and again, that is another plus happiness that I have because I had never planted tomatoes and started them from seed myself. So that has been, I consider, a success. Where I went wrong, and I absolutely do at this point believe I went wrong with this, is I planted far too many, far too close. What I probably should have done is had just one of each variety, considering the size of the bin that I had, or and how I was going to lay it out, or had just a single bin for tomatoes if I was going to plant the number of tomatoes that I did. This is far too close. I have done some extreme trimming of the plants. I mean, here's some of the results of that, and it's still going crazy. I mean, look up there, the vigor, the how prolific the growth is, and those are the keywords for today's video, is prolific and vigor. I mean, I can't be mad at it. It's fantastic. I love the fact that they do seem to be growing really well. Where I have concerns, of course, and I've mentioned this in other videos, is with them being so tangled in together, you know, the opportunity for disease and for things to transfer is there, for stuff to not grow as well because they are crowded is there. So I've been trying to keep on top of it by trimming it, but I want to make sure that I do actually get tomatoes to harvest as well. So very difficult thing for me to balance, especially because I am not an expert, and I'm certain that when I'm making decisions on what to clip, what to trim off, I'm probably making wrong decisions. I've tried, I've watched videos, so I'm doing my best, but I think I could have saved myself a fair amount of heartache if I hadn't been so enthusiastic and excited about the fact that, oh my gosh, look, I was able to create these plants, these starts. I'm going to put a huge amount of them in. I was definitely overly ambitious. And not fully understanding what that was actually going to end up looking like after the plants really got going. So um, that is something that I will have to change in the future. And I already have a few ideas on what I want to do as far as splitting up the tomato bed and the pepper bed. And again, we're going to be increasing our area over in the back, though we're not doing these big bins back there. We're doing some round ones, but I don't know that we're going to do the same number of squash next year. So that will open up potentially some other spaces to expand or to separate. I'll definitely be looking at rotating where we're putting the crops as well. So changing that up will mean I'll need to create a whole new plan next year anyway. So that will give me the opportunity to kind of really think about what did I see this year and how do I need to change things so that we're even more successful, because I'm absolutely considering this a success. I am amazed as I look in here and I see, those beautiful tomatoes. Oh, look, I mean, look at that. Lovely. We've got some over here getting ready. Down here, we've got some of the Brad's Atomic. It's just gorgeous. So, I am in Pacific Northwest. I am in Zone 8B. It is June 28th. So, though we have some beautiful, beautiful growth for our tomatoes, we are definitely not at the point where there's anything to be harvested yet. I'd be surprised if anybody in the area has something that's ready to harvest. This one, maybe. That's where I'm gonna have to be careful, is I need to look and see, how do I know when a Black Beauty tomato is ready to be harvested? I'm assuming it's when the black is all the way down to the bottom, but maybe it's just supposed to be on the shoulders. So that could be a single one that's ready to harvest, but yeah, I'm not anticipating having anything worth pulling out of here for probably at least another couple of weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if it's another month or so. And I will be looking at leaving some on the vine to continue to mature, as well as pulling some off as they start to get that blush so that they can ripen off the vine, particularly if we're going to be doing, canning and salsa and stuff like that. Okay, I don't know what the neighbors are doing, but I do want to wrap this up because I already actually had the phone die because it got too warm. So the last little bit that I'll say I consider to be a success. Actually, there's two. The transformation of our blueberry, berry, raspberry area. I think this turned out fantastic. Our blueberries are doing really well. Okay. We do have two that I think are a little not doing as great. The pink lemonade so far is a little disappointing, but it's year one. The one back there, I think it's a Blu-ray, maybe, or maybe it doesn't even have a tag, so I don't remember. Nothing actually grew or flowered or anything like that. So, you know, that's a to be determined. We'll see if maybe next year something grows. The raspberries are doing beautifully, even though we've had some issues with, you know, the leaf browning, which I honestly I don't know why. This guy, which was just a stick with one leaf on it when we first planted it, is coming along wonderfully. And we've already been able to harvest 2 raspberries, and these are the golden ones. And we have a few more that are, you know, on deck. Wonderful. I'm so excited about the raspberries here. We didn't really get much to harvest for the honeyberries, and you know, I'm actually not worried about that. The honeyberries were 100% kind of an experiment sort of thing, something to fill the area, give us something new to try. So if it takes a couple of years for it to do anything worthwhile, that's fine. And even if it never does, you know, it's another thing in the garden, something different. To add some diversity to the garden. I don't want everything to be 100% the same. So I think, oops, I just walked through a spider web. Fantastic. I think it's good to have diversity in your garden. Um, Now this guy, this is um, our granddaddy blueberry. Look, look at those. So big, beautiful. Oh my gosh. And I absolutely do feel like there's a strong spider crawling up. Oh, that one wasn't ready to go. Crawling up my arm. Anyway, so we're gonna have to do some more harvesting over here. But so that was one I wanted to make sure I touched on, because I am absolutely pleased with how this turned out. Both the fact that we have additional fruit in here, and I think aesthetically it looks really nice too. And we do have some areas to expand and add some additional plants if we want to. And then last but not least is our dwarf tomato process. So even if we run into an issue with compromised growth or disease or whatever for our tomatoes in our raised bed, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 12 dwarf tomato plants that are in pots, a variety of pots, plastic as well as canvas, and they seem to be doing very well. We do have this one, so I didn't count that in the 12. This one is actually one of our black strawberry. I just decided to do an extra one. And then of course we've got our potatoes. So the dwarf tomato project went well. It was a little iffy. That one on the end, the goldfinch, took 3 attempts before it would germinate, but it seems to be doing very well, and I'm very excited to see what fruits that we will end up with. Yeah, so we've got a lot in a pretty small area. I mean, it's not tiny. I absolutely recognize that there are a lot of people out there that have not been blessed with the space that we have and the ability to put together an area like this. But I do think we have used this area pretty well. I think with this being the first year that we've had this in place, because we did put this together this year, I think we've made some good choices. There's obviously some things that we decided on either in the spur of the moment or just because our excitement was a little too high and that we didn't necessarily think as far through as we should have. But overall, I am very pleased with the garden. I need to figure out pest control in the future for sure. I need to be better at determining spacing and companion planting. Absolutely. I need to be smart about the when I start my seeds. Again, this was really kind of my first year of doing seed starting, so mistakes were going to happen. The order in which I'm going to do, flowers versus plants, the amount of plants I'm going to do versus what I'm going to purchase, and be better at organizing, like the green stalks, for example. I mean, right now I think they're just fine, but in the beginning, I feel like I wasted quite a bit of time on direct sowing the seeds, because they weren't very successful. So I do have that as a go forward in the future. Just do starts, whether I'm the one that started them indoors or I'm purchasing them from somewhere. But yeah, at this point, you know, end of June, I think our garden is looking really, really good. And we are starting to harvest things that got started at the beginning of the season in March. Are going to start to die back, and so we can start looking at what do we want for our fall garden, because I believe July and August, depending on maturity dates, is when we should start doing some seed sowing for that. Now, I will put out there, I am not really looking to do any indoor seed starting for the fall. Whatever I do, I'll probably either start them in the ground, so direct sow, or I might do some seed starting outside. That could be a hit or a miss. We'll have to see. We are getting into the hottest part of our summer, so I'm definitely going to have to be on top of watering. My current watering process is typically on Fridays. I do a deep water for every single bed, and then twice a week I will do a full fill of the top tier of this, then an individual water of each of the pockets, and then once this has drained, do another full fill of the water for the green stalks. And I do that twice a week. Now, as we get into the hotter parts of the summer, I may need to start doing that more than twice a week, maybe every other day. Hopefully it won't get to the point where I need to do it every single day, but that's something that I'll have to see as the weeks and months go on. But yeah, there we are. I know that this was a very long video, but I hope it was informative. I hope you enjoyed seeing not just, where the garden is, but kind of my thought process and what my thoughts are on how things have gone. I didn't really touch back there on some of our onions and flowers, but that is another area. I had a huge plan for filling all of these little things with dirt and putting in the seed mixes that I had purchased, that you saw in our seed haul number 3. That was too ambitious. I, again, got ahead of myself, and it definitely is not something that I'm going to be able to fulfill. I do have one full right there that does have some seed start in there, and I think either I need to do that process earlier or pare it down, in order for me to be successful in the future. But I'm not regretting that I purchased the containers or anything like that, but I do have started flowers that I still need to get out into the garden so that they can grow and continue to mature. So yeah, that is where we're at, and I appreciate you following along and seeing how things are going and kind of seeing my assessment of how I feel I've done and how I feel the garden's going. And of course, as always, I am 100% interested in hearing your feedback, so please leave me any comments, questions, concerns, things like that. We'd appreciate if you would like the video as well, and of course please consider subscribing so you can continue to see how things go as the season continues. So thank you again. And as always, take care of yourselves. Bye bye.